The basic purpose of our documentary is to engage with critiques of advertising, to relate advertising to key terms central to this book, and to comment on the relationship of advertising to the media in general. The lead quotation above identifies a classic critique of advertising which nevertheless doesn't represent all perspectives, let alone all concerns about the role and effect of advertising. Schutzen 1990 together. These so-called developed world and its cultures are a dominant part of this stretch work. Advertising itself is such a vast economic activity and is so explicitly developed to promotional partial views of products and services that it merits critical attention. That is true even if there are questions about the extent of its effectiveness as well as about the nature of its collateral damage in ideological terms. In my 2001, Coca-Cola spent approximately $400 million worldwide on its brand. In the same year, it spent €30 million in the UK on promotion. Jameson and Campbell 2001 report that in USA in 1990, 1,303,000 new products were introduced, 75% of which were foodstuffs. In 1998, $200 billion was spent on advertising in the USA, an increase of 7.5% on the previous years. It cost $2 million to place a 30-second ad around TV screens of the Super Bowl series doll. Conflict between the need of the agency to be creative and to gain the approval of their peers within the industry and the direct need of the client for promotion through whatever version. This disjunction between what researchers may tell the agency and what their creative instincts may tell them about the market and promotion methods. For example, the famous and surrealist run of the Benson and Hedge cigarette ads would never have seen the light of the day if the agency had listened to what research was saying. Product versus appeal. The appeal must not lose sight of the product. That is a conflict between actually and the idea. The problem where people remember ad but not the product. Words versus images. Negotiating the symbolic order of spoken written language as opposed to the direct iconic image of the images. The frame versus container versus bursting the frame. Alternative strategies in which the ads is either contained and ordered, or those in which images and text may appear to be bursting out of frame or bled to the margins of the sheet. Text versus text. The sense of intertextual strain where in intersubconscious consumers are setting one product against another adds their genres. Their categories of product cannot live in a conceptual vacuum. The problem is to make the comparisons favorable without seeing to be recognized the opposition. Advert versus consumer. The problem that advertisers have, especially nowadays, to combat consumer resistance and skepticism towards a communication process which is seen to be manipulative, the one versus the many. Negotiating that stretch within the ad and the campaign in which the appeal has to address the individual and yet also reach a mass market. Advertising and audiences. The demographic approach to explaining audiences places them in objectifiable categories such as age, gender, occupation, place of domicile. Audiences are constructed through marketing for advertisers by those in the business of promotion out of social groups that may or may not interact in everyday life, that may or may not share cultural experiences. Reasons for advertising are to hold on to one's share of given market in face of competition, get a bigger share of market, create awareness of a given product or service. Advertising and persuasion. In advertising, we advertise our products such as what are the advantages and disadvantages of this product, as well as in advertising we show people how to use this product. On the other hand, in persuasion we persuade people about their product, their mental level that they buy the product, and in addition we explain the benefits of the product. Also in persuasion we do not mention any kind of side effects regarding the product, just persuade the customer to buy this product. Advertising and children. Children have always been seen as a special interest group in terms of advertising because of their assumed vulnerability to its persuasive devices, the Ofcom Code of Practice and the guidelines of the advertising standards. Association both give an insight into how our culture understands children and the concept of childhood. They are implicit beliefs about the innocence of children and assumptions about their inability to distinguish fact from fantasy at certain ages. Ideology, myths, and representations in a truism to say that adverts are about discourses as wheels for ideologies they must be. They often invoke dominant discourse of gender and age. Their representations are constructed through the language and discourses. Car adverts talk through discourses of technology, sexuality, fashion, urban and rural environments, and individualism, and among many others, and just as there in an interrelationship between discourse, ideology, and representation, so also one must play mythologies with this model. Or one may see myths as false ideas of the false consciousness of ideology. One may see them as the meanings separated by the language of any discourse, or one may see them as embodied by the representations which also depend on discourses. The myth of everlasting youth is embodied within visual representations of active and beautiful young men and women, especially in those ads for age define beauty products. Commodification. I don't want to rephrase previous explanation of the essential ideas behind commodification and the fetishization of goods, but it's worth underlying various points, such as the fact that advertising refers to cultural as well as material commodities. It refers to the 238 media and society turning of material good into cultural commodities, as Kenny and Bullen put in. Advertisements remake the meaning of goods in order to sell them. Jelle talks of different kinds of value generated through advertising. In Marxist terms, he is talking about the transformation of the practical material value of goods into something else. In market societies, the exchange value of commodities dominates their use. In market societies, the exchange value of commodities dominates their use value, but he also points out that the notion of objects having a symbolic value beyond their usefulness has been around in societies for a very long time. Certainly before advertising was developed, societies which are not obviously materialistic nevertheless have fetish objects that are valued in terms beyond what they are made of or what one can do with them. In our market societies, it is advertising which has given such a range of goods their symbolic dimension. Jelle sees advertising as having a social role. He argues that it creates connections between person and object, use and symbol, symbolism and power, communication and satisfaction. Through advertising, goods are knitted into the fabric of social life and cultural significance. Similarly, Klein suggests that goods also locate daily act of consumption within a constituents of personal and family history, group and national style. The cross-cutting tension of work and leisure. Goods are social symbols that can articulate and aspirations. I would say that it is advertising which encourages that location which generates the symbolism.